episode 448, a special live episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. We'll be talking all about Impact Wrestling Slammiversary, featuring the Ultimate X, who was Scott D'Amore's partner in the tag team match. There were championship matches, and who walked out as Impact Wrestling World Champion, and AEW Saturday Collision, an instant classic 2 out of 3 falls match for the AEW World Tag Team Championships, and the finals of the Owen Hart Foundation men's and women's tournaments, and AEW Battle of the Belt 7. Also, we'll talk a little bit about New Japan Pro Wrestling G1 Climax Tournament and Triplemania right here, right now. 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Hello, Wrestling Fanatics. Saturday nights, all right for fighting, and happy Slammiversary, everyone. On this, I guess you could say now, Sunday morning, early Sunday morning anyway. Finally, I am live on this special live episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic, and got a lot of pro wrestling action to talk about right now. Like I said, it is a little late and we're early, so gonna try to make it quick, not too long of an episode. And let's get right into it. Impact Wrestling Slammiversary. First, we got started with the countdown to Slammiversary, which we started things off with a 6-person tag team match. The Death Dolls and Jody Threat defeating the team of Giselle Shaw, Savannah Evans, and Jay Vidal, now known as the Entourage. Yeah, that. Sorry about that. Or Shawtrage. Sorry, messed that up. And also on the countdown to Slammiversary, the Impact Wrestling Digital Media Championship is on the line. Joe Hendry taking on Kenny King with Sheldon Jean in his corner. And these two have a pretty good match here for the countdown show. And Sheldon Jean gets involved, allowing Kenny King to win. When first it looks like Kenny King and Gene have some communication problems. King goes into Sheldon, knocks him off the apron, but then he rolls and gets a pin on Joe Hendry, Sheldon Jean holds his feet on the ropes, allowing him to pin Hendry and become the new Impact Digital Media Champion. And now on to the main card, Impact Wrestling Slammiversary, live from Windsor, Ontario, Canada, at the St. Clair College Sportsplex. And our commentators are Tom Hannafin and Matthew Raywalt. We kick things off with the Ultimate X match, where the winner will receive an X Division Championship match. And this Ultimate X is Kushida, Alan Angels, the Octopus, Jonathan Gresham, Kevin Knight, and Speedball Mike Bailey, or at least we think that is everyone in the match. And then there's a surprise return at this time, and it is none other than Jake something making his return to Impact Wrestling, a surprise addition to this Ultimate X match. And Jake something, pretty big guy, and at one point he's in the middle of the ring and he can even just jump up and touch the bottom of the X hanging from the steel cables. And very impressive moonsault from the Ultimate X structure by Speedball Mike Bailey, or as Tom Hannafin called it, Ultimate Moonsault. And at one point, Alan Angels hits a very impressive Poison Rana on Kevin Knight. And definitely a lot of exciting action in this one. Kushida, Kevin Knight on the cables, and Kushida is able to knock Knight off and get possession of the X and win Ultimate X at 11 minutes 23 seconds and become the new number one contender for the Impact Wrestling X Division Championship. And at this time, I know last night on 360 Wrestling Fanatic, I was talking about having an announcement on tonight's special live episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic, and that announcement is something that I've been talking about for quite a while. And if you remember, if you listen to 360 Wrestling Fanatic, if you're a long-time listener, I've been talking about how I have been wanting to come up with some kind of a rating thing, or I guess you could call it a rating system. Like, I mentioned this before, how Pro Wrestling Illustrated has the suplexes when they review a book or a DVD or anything. They have either 3 out of 5 suplex or 4 out of 5 suplexes, and I always thought that was a good thing for ratings instead of just doing stars like everyone else does. And I wanted to come up with something of my own like that, but I couldn't think of anything to use instead of the old stars. So finally, I have decided to come up with ring bells. I hope that doesn't sound too silly, but I'm going to do ring bells for my rating system. And the way it's going to work is for matches will be out of 5 for each match on the show. And overall, for the show, I think I'm going to do out of 10 ring bells for the show overall. And that's going to be the new rating system. Hopefully it's not too bad. Hopefully everyone who listens to 360 Wrestling Podcasts will enjoy it. And for this one, I'd have to say 4 out of 5 ring bells for this Ultimate X. And I just also want to say this probably might not be the best rating system like Dave Meltzer and his stars, but I'm just gonna go with my reaction to the match and how many ring bells I think that it should get. I'd say 4 out of 5 for this Ultimate X. And next up, the Impact Wrestling Knockouts Tag Team Championships are on the line. The newly formed team, Masha Slamovich and Killer Kelly, who have been feuding as of late, even had a dog collar match, but have gained a respect for each other and now are tag team partners. They faced the Impact Wrestling Knockouts champions, the Coven, Taylor Wilde and Kylie King. This one, I thought was a good match here. And we see Giselle sorry about that. I don't know why I said Giselle Shaw, not in this match, but Masha Slamovich pinning Taylor Wilde in this one with a snowplow, 9 minutes, 10 seconds, to become the new Impact Wrestling Knockout Tag Team Champions. And Slammiversary continues next, which I was kind of surprised. I thought this match might be later on in the card. And it is Bully Ray and Diener taking on Scott D'Amore and his partner with Detroit Red Wings hockey legend Darren McCarty as a special enforcer. And in this one, it was originally supposed to be Steve Macklin teaming with Bully Ray, but he was injured on the Down Under Australia tour. And on Impact Wrestling, recently, Bully Ray and Steve Macklin set PCO on fire, so that took him out of the match. And Scott D'Amore comes out to a huge pop and brings out his tag team partner, and we hear the Team Canada theme music, and it is Showtime Eric Young making his return to Impact Wrestling. I'm guessing just for one night only, but it is Eric Young teaming with Scott D'Amore. We also see Scott D'Amore's mother in the front row at ringside. And Eric Young starts it off with Diener. Of course, those two have a past with Violent by Design, which is now just the Design. And like Tom Hannafin said on commentary, Eric Young back from the dead. And quick tags here in the beginning between Young and D'Amore. D'Amore gets a "You Still Got It" chant. And at one point, the crowd there in Windsor starts singing "Oh Canada." and Bully Ray gets the advantage with a low blow, and he actually, on Scott D'Amore, and he actually wants the referee to disqualify him, call the match off, and then the referee starts to go for a DQ, but then Eric Young tells him to stop. The fans want the match to continue, but Bully Ray and Diener are bothering the referee, trying to get him to call the disqualification, but the referee just says that's enough, leaves, and the special enforcer, Darren McCarty, gets in, puts the referee shirt on, and is now the official referee for this match. And we get some interference from Khan, and that leads to earlier on the Countdown show, we saw another Team Canada member, A1, at ringside, and then after Khan interferes, A1 gets involved to take care of him, and we get a Canadian destroyer from Scott D'Amore, and an elbow drop off the top rope from Eric Young, and D'Amore and Young get the victory, 12 minutes, 1 second. This was a fun, entertaining match. I definitely enjoyed this one. I'd say 3.5 out of 5 ring bells for this one. Very good one. And I'm sorry, I know this is new, but I think I forgot the Knockouts tag team match. Sorry, like I said, this is new. Forgot and still a little tired. The Knockouts tag team match, I'd probably say 3 out of 5 ring bells for that one. And next up, the Impact Wrestling X Division Championship is on the line. Lio Rush challenging Chris Sabin. And this one, I have to say, I was surprised that definitely not as long as I expected this match to be. And we start off Lio Rush, the challenger, out first, of course, and then the Impact Wrestling X Division champion, Chris Sabin, and he's making his entrance, gets on the apron of the ring, but then he is attacked by Lio Rush, and Sabin hits his head on the bottom of the ramp. The medical staff checks on him and almost don't let Sabin compete, but then Sabin gets in the ring and Rush attacks Sabin when he still has his jacket on, and then hits the final hour, but only for a 2 count. Sabin gets his shoulder up, but then Lio Rush gets a second final hour, and this time gets the win, defeating Chris Sabin 1 minute 21 seconds to become the new Impact Wrestling X Division champion. And next up, Slammiversary continues with a 4-way match for the Impact Wrestling World Tag Team Championships. The most professional wrestling gods, Moose and Brian Myers, take on Subculture, Mark Andrews, and Flash Morgan Webster, with Danny Luna in their corner, Rich Swann and Sami Callihan, and the Impact Wrestling World Tag Team Champions, ABC, Ace Austin, and Chris Bay. Really good match here. And then we get some interference from the Rascals, Zachary Wentz and Trey Miguel, who attack ABC on the floor. And while that is going on, Mark Andrews is able to get the pin on Brian Myers to score the win for Subculture to become the new Impact Wrestling Knockouts Impact Wrestling World Tag Team Champions at 10 minutes 42 seconds. This one, I think I'm going to give 3.5 ring bells. Very good match. And nothing at all against Subculture. Big fan of this team. So definitely don't mind seeing them with the World Tag Team titles. But I was a little disappointed just to see this reign of ABC, Ace Austin, Chris Bay come to an end. But still good match though. Next up we have Eddie Edwards taking on Frankie Kazarian. Eddie Edwards has his wife Alicia in his corner, and Frankie Kazarian has his wife, Impact Knockout legend Tracy Brooks, in his corner. And pretty good match here. And at one point, Eddie Edwards hits an impressive backpack stunner. And then to finish sees Edwards with the Boston Knee Party, pinning Frankie Kazarian at 17 minutes 57 seconds in the third match in the series. And now at this time, the Impact Wrestling Knockouts Championship is on the line. Trinity challenging against the Virtuosa Deonna Purrazzo. Really good match. And definitely enjoyed this one. And it is Trinity getting the win to become the new Knockouts champion at 14 minutes 42 seconds. This one I'd have to give 4 out of 5 ring bells. Very good match. And I definitely hope that sometime down the road we see a rematch between these two for the Knockouts title. Trinity definitely looking very impressive since she made her Impact Wrestling debut. And now it is time for the main event of the evening for the Impact Wrestling World Championship. And the other half of the Motor City Machine Guns Impact World Champion Alex Shelley defending against the National Treasure Nick Aldis. And this one starts things off since Nick Aldis has done some underhanded tactics. Alex Shelley spits some water in his face. But almost right away in the beginning, Aldis gets into Queensland Cloverleaf. And they go back and forth a little bit here. Have a really good match. And at one point, Alex Shelley, there's this spot where he has the fingers of Aldis in the middle of the turnbuckle. And at another point, Shelley has the world title. And the referee goes to take it away from him. Turns his back. And Aldis hits a low blow. But only a 2 count. Shelley hits a DDT on the title for a 2 count. And then gets a shell shock. And gets the win, pinning Nick Aldis at 16 minutes 33 seconds to retain the Impact Wrestling World Championship. in a very good main event. This one I'd also have to give 4 out of 5 ring bells. Really good match here. Good to see Alex Shelley retain the World Championship. Unfortunately, though, his Motor City Machine Gun partner, Chris Sabin, lost his X Division Championship. And I wonder if we could eventually see a match for the Impact World title between the two members of the Motor City Machine Guns going at it one-on-one. Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin. Maybe could even save that and have that at Bound for Glory. And very good Slammiversary pay-per-view in my opinion. And now let's go over to TNT for AEW Saturday Collision. And we get the usual pre-show comments to start Collision off with FTR, Bullet Club Gold, Willow Nightingale, Ruby Soho, Absolute Ricky Starks, and CM Punk. And our first match on Saturday Collision tonight is a 2 out of 3 falls match for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. FTR, Cash Wheeler, and Dax Harwood defending against the Bullet Club Gold team of Switchblade Jay White and Juice Robinson. And all I have to say for this one is, wow. Great match. Fantastic tag team wrestling. And first we see Jay White. And the match goes for a while too without a pinfall. But then we see Jay White get a pin on Cash Wheeler. Bullet Club Gold goes up 1-0. And then we go to a break and then restart the match. And then we go a while again without having another decision. And at one point, there are double sharpshooters locked in with Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler. But I think Ian Riccaboni, who was on commentary tonight, I didn't mention that, but he did a good job because Juice Robinson and Jay White, who are both in the sharpshooters, were grabbing each other's hands and so they couldn't tap out. And finally, FTR had to break the hold because they were wore down. After wrestling this match already, and then Dax Harwood gets Juice Robinson. They get a decision, I should say, 1-1, and then the finish of the match sees Dax Harwood get the sharpshooter on Juice Robinson, and Juice taps out in this final decision of the match. 58 minutes. New AEW World Tag Team or still AEW World Tag Team Champions FTR. Like I said, still a little tired, sorry, but FTR retain, defeating Bullet Club Gold in this instant classic. This was a great match. I definitely recommend, if you missed Collision tonight, if for whatever reason you have not seen this match yet, definitely check it out. You have to see this match. Great match. And then we have the semifinals On the women's side of the Owen Hart Foundation tournament, Ruby Soho and Willow Nightingale. The second year in a row, Ruby Soho in the finals. This year taking on Willow Nightingale. These two have a entertaining match. At one point, Soho goes for the spray paint, but that is countered or not countered, but she goes to blame, like kind of do an Eddie Guerrero thing here a little bit, and gives it to Willow to make Aubrey Edwards think she was the one using it. But Willow Nightingale, though, still able to get the win, defeating Ruby Soho to win the women's part of the 2023 Owen Hart Foundation Cup tournament. And next up, we have a match, tag team action, honoring the House of Black, the Kings of the Black Throne, Malachi Black and Brody King. Quick kind of squash match here. And then Andrade gets involved. And we have the men's finals of the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. CM Punk taking on Absolute Ricky Starks. And these two have a good match. And Ricky Starks gets the win, actually, on CM Punk. Might be considered being an upset, even though, like I said, I would have liked to see Ricky Starks get the win, but I thought that it was going to be Punk. But during the pinfall, Ricky Starks had his hand on the middle rope, and Nigel McGuinness brought that up. Looks kind of like a heel turn here for Ricky Starks, possibly because after the match he was walking up the ramp, and then we see the legendary Jushin Thunder Liger, who worked with Owen Hart early in his career in Japan, and he grabbed the trophy from Liger. Liger offered him a handshake, but Starks turned it down and left. So kind of looks like we could possibly see a heel turn for Ricky Starks once again. And now we stay on TNT, but go over to Battle of the Belts. And the AEW International Championship is on the line. Freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy taking on the Murder Hawk Monster Lance Archer with Jake the Snake Roberts in his corner. And this one actually was a really good match. Orange Cassidy keeping his streak of really good matches and title defenses going. And Jake Roberts does get involved. Orange Cassidy does get the nothing kicks on Jake Roberts. And Archer goes to the floor. At one point, Orange Cassidy gets Lance Archer set for the DDT. Looks at Jake Roberts. And in his own way, does the motion Jake Roberts used to do for the DDT, hits the DDT on the floor, and OC is able to get in the ring and just barely beat the count, defeating Lance Archer via countout to retain the AEW International Championship. And the AEW Women's Championship is now on the line. Toni Storm defeats Taya Valkyrie to retain. And during this match, unfortunately, there are some technical problems in this with the satellite. And I was going to say, because all of a sudden, we also see from last week's Collision, and I was surprised because, like I talked about, I DVR'd Collision and Battle of the Belts tonight on Sling while I was watching Slammiversary. I thought maybe something went wrong with my DVR, but then they brought up the problems a little later on. And during Battle of the Belts, we had the presentation of the Owen Hart Foundation Cup and the championship belts to this year's winners, Willow Nightingale and Absolute Ricky Starks, Martha Hart, and Tony Khan with their cowboy hats on there at the Calgary Stampede at the Scotiabank Saddledome, and even Ian Riccaboni having the cowboy hat on. In the main event of Battle of the Belt 7, Luchasaurus along with Christian Cage take on Shawn Spears, and this one was a pretty surprising match, and Luchasaurus retains. And I know I forgot about my rating system already here, but I'll try to get better with it. But let me just say, the first match of Collision, FTR and Bullet Club Gold, the 2 out of 3 falls match, that is definitely the first 5 out of 5 ring bells. Definitely great match there. And I forgot to start off like I usually do, so I'm going to do it now, a little late. AEW Saturday Collision was live from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Live at the Scotiabank Saddledome. Our commentators tonight, Ian Riccaboni and Nigel McGuinness, with Kevin Kelly doing the G1 today. We got Ian Riccaboni on Collision tonight. Him and Nigel worked pretty well together, I thought. So, good episode, or a great episode, I should say, of AEW Saturday Collision tonight. And let's go over and talk some New Japan Pro Wrestling real quick. With the first show of this year's G1 Climax tournament, just gonna go over the results real quick. In B Block action, Yoshihashi defeated El Phantasmo. In the A Block, Chase Owens defeated Gabriel Kidd. And also in the B Block, Tangaloa defeated Kenta. In the A Block, Ren Narita and Shota Umino went to a time limit draw. And in the B Block, Kazuchika Okada defeated Great Okan. Ko Kiyomiya defeated Yota Tsuji in the A Block. Taichi defeated Will Ospreay in the B Block. And Sanada defeated Hikulelu in the A Block action. As of right now, the A Block standings are Chase Owens with 2, and Kiyokumiya Sanada. Ren Narita with 1, and Shoto Unomo also with 1, and Gabe Kidd, Hikulelu, and Tsuji with 0. The B block, we have Kazuchika Okada with 2, Taichi with 2, Loa with 2, and Yoshihashi. And then with 0, we have El Phantasmo, Rito Khan, Kenta, and Will Ospreay. So that was the first show of this year's New Japan Pro Wrestling G1 Climax Tournament. Definitely too early to tell just yet who's going to win this year's. And also tonight we had AAA Triplemania, which from Tijuana, and we had the Hydra defeated Willie Mack, Mr. Iguana, Jack Cartwheel, Mercedes Jr., Puma King, Nina Hamburgerosa, Gringo Loco, Laredo Kid, Black Taurus, and our next match, Team Mexico defeated Team Rest of the World. Vampiro, Jack Evans, and Maurices take on Pagano and La Rebellion. Ended in a no contest. Also, Team Baja defeated Team Chagano, and QT Marshall with Aaron Solo defeated Pentagon Jr. in an ambulance match, and Roosh and L.A. Park defeat Sam Adonis and Psycho Clown, or actually it ended in a draw. And in the main event, El Hijo del Vikingo with Don Callis defeated Kenny Omega to retain the AAA Mega Championship at 19 minutes, 11 seconds. So I wasn't able to watch those shows. Have to try to check them out maybe sometime tomorrow or later this week. They sounded like very great shows, but the two that I did watch all of tonight, Impact Wrestling Slammiversary and AEW Saturday Collision, and then Battle of the Belts. 2 great shows, or 3 I should say. And I know in the Battle of the Belts recap there at the end, I forgot my ring bell already, my new rating system, but had the first 5 out of 5 ring bells. That great 2 out of 3 Falls Tag Team Championship match between FTR and Bullet Club Gold. Definitely my pick for match of the night, and I definitely recommend it. If you missed that match, definitely go back and check it out. So that's all for this episode, this special live episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Finally, now Sunday morning, and hope to have more episodes of 360 Wrestling Fanatic soon. And remember, if you have any questions, comments, or you can leave your feedback on all of the shows that I just talked about, Slammiversary, Collision, Triplemania, the G1, in the comment section on Spreaker or YouTube or whichever podcast website or podcast app you listen to on. Leave your feedback for all the shows you watched. And if you have a company or a business you would like to advertise on 360 Wrestling Podcasts, you can just email 360wrestlingpodcasts@gmail.com. I'll try to do a good ad for you here and not mess up too badly. And we'll be back tomorrow morning with the Sunday episode of Good Morning Wrestling Fans. But until then, thanks again, everyone, for tuning in to this special live episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. And until tomorrow morning, I am Lance, and I am a wrestling fanatic.